And welcome to Hannity. And tonight, Donald Trump is turning up the heat on Hillary Clinton while continuing to have a very strong week on the campaign trail. We have new polls showing Trump gaining a lot of ground on his Democratic rival. And earlier tonight, the GOP nominee, he was in North Carolina. Let's take a look.
I've never been politically correct. It takes far too much time. Sure. True. Truthfully, it takes far too much time and can often make it more difficult to achieve total victory. But one thing I can promise you this: I will always tell you the truth. I speak the truth for all of you and for everyone in this country who doesn't have a voice, of which there are many.
And also tonight, the State Department is finally coming clean and admitting that the administration waited to give the $400 million to Iran until the 4 American hostages were released back in January. Well, that's called paying ransom. Now, this comes after the White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest, the Secretary of State John Kerry, and the president himself all adamantly denied that money was given in exchange for the hostages. It now turns out that it was the Iranians that told you the truth, not your president. Watch this.
The United States, under President Obama, has not paid a ransom to secure the release of Americans unjustly detained in Iran, and we're not going to pay a ransom. If there are Americans who are unjustly detained in Iran, we will make a case regularly through some now established channels with Iran to advocate for their release.
Let me speak to this transfer, because I know a lot about it, because I was obviously negotiating the fundamental nuclear agreement with Iran. I'm aware of what was going on, more than aware. First of all, the United States of America does not pay ransom and does not negotiate ransoms with any country. We never have, and we're not doing that now. It's not our policy.
We announced these payments in January, many months ago. There wasn't a secret. We announced them to all of you. Josh did a briefing on them. This wasn't some nefarious deal. We do not pay ransom for hostages.
We do not pay ransom for hostages. Apparently they do. Here now with reaction. Former Speaker of the House, Fox News contributor Newt Gingrich is with us. You know, why do I think if Donald Trump lied to us like that, lied like Hillary, lied like Kerry, lied like Obama, lied like that propagandist Josh Earnest, why do I think this would be a much bigger deal? This would be a 1,000 times. This would be on steroids times 1,000.
You know, I think the elite media just assumes if you're a liberal, you lie. The policies are indefensible. The actions are not possibly explainable. So, and in that sense, Hillary's in a tradition. What you just saw was the presidential press secretary lied, the Secretary of State lied, the president lied. Well, why wouldn't their nominee for president lie? She's part of a great tradition. Why would you tell the American people the truth? And I think that maybe explains part of her behavior, that she spent her time surrounded by people who lie. She lies like they lie, so they all think it's okay. She doesn't even recognize that she's lying, even when she's lying about lying, which is truly pretty amazing.
It's amazing, but, you know, the AP, the wire crossed today, the State Department admits, says the $400 million cash payments to Iran was contingent on the American prisoner release. So it was all planned out. Everybody knew about it. They felt very comfortable lying. And here's how profound this is. The Iranians told us the truth. The mullahs in Iran were more honest with the American people than our president. That bothers me a lot.
Well, but remember, this goes all the way back to Bill Clinton, who had the ability to look straight into the camera with a straight face and say, depends on what the meaning of the word is. You know, once you establish the precedent in the Clinton-Obama left-wing world, that you might as well lie to the American people, because after all, they're the people you're going to reshape. They're not people you really recognize. So you say you can keep your doctor if you want to. You can keep your insurance if you want to. Go down the list of all the lies
you
Obama told.
And you can lie to the families of loved ones while simultaneously telling your own daughter, the Libyan president, the Egyptian prime minister, that it was a terror attack. Lie to the families of victims of Benghazi in front of the coffins of their dead family members. Lie about... Well, I mean, you know, I mean...
That also tells you something about how cold does Hillary Clinton have to be able to look a grieving mother in the face and lie to her about why her son was killed. I mean, that's a level of coldness that's really, I think, very, very sobering.
You know, this is what frustrates me. You know what? I'm angry at presidential candidates, John Kasich. I'm angry at Ted Cruz. I like Ted Cruz. I like Kasich personally. But they made pledges. Jeb Bush made a pledge. Lindsey Graham made a pledge. Then you got all these Republican congressmen and senators. Then, of course, you got the arrogant elitists at the Wall Street Journal, National Review, Bill Kristol, et cetera. And I'm arguing that if Hillary appoints Supreme Court justices, if people cross our border because it's not secure because Hillary's president, if one of the 550% increase in unvetted refugees kills Americans, and the economy continues to be stagnant, the worst recovery since the 40s, I'm holding them responsible for sabotaging a candidate that is espousing very conservative views. Maybe they don't like the way Donald Trump says it, but they're going to choose a liar, a pathological, as Bill Sapphire said, a congenital liar, the most ethically challenged person that's ever run for that office over Donald Trump, and tell those of us that are supporting his policies that somehow we're responsible? I blame them if Hillary wins. Am I wrong?
Well, I don't know that you're wrong, but I want to draw them into two different groups. There are some people who are so much part of the establishment that they can't be for Trump. You know, I mean, the fact is Bill Kristol's been for all the wars we're losing. He deeply believes in an interventionist policy. He's not in a position where he can rethink any of this. So he actually is closer to Hillary Clinton on national security than he is to Donald Trump, because Trump is prepared to rethink the whole thing. And his speech on Monday was a historic speech, taking on both Democratic and Republican foreign policy establishment. So when I see guys who have a principled position who say, you know, now that I'm looking at it, I'd rather keep losing and stick with Hillary because she'll lose and lie, whereas Donald Trump makes me think new thoughts and makes me question the last 15 years of my life, you at least understand that psychologically.
All right.
But
well, let me ask this then. Let me just very quickly run down the list of the issues that Donald Trump says he supports. Originalist justices to the Supreme Court.
Sure.
That'll impact us for generations. Protecting our Second Amendment. Right. A president that can say radical Islam, one that wouldn't say it. Replacing Obamacare, better trade deals, cutting taxes versus raising taxes, energy independence versus firing coal miners and putting coal business out of business, education back to the states, not top-down Common Core, building a wall, rebuilding our military. Mr. Speaker, tell me what part of this is not conservative. I'm a registered conservative. This sounds like Newt Gingrich's agenda.
Yeah, but my first point was there are some of these people who are more establishment than they are conservatives. I respect them. What's really goofy, if you're a member of the House or Senate, if you're a Republican in the House or Senate, and you're not helping Donald Trump, you're in effect willing to be to be once again for the next 4 years with a left-wing president who not only appoints judges, but who writes executive orders, who you know the Congress is not going to be able to cope with. I mean, if they couldn't cope with Obama, they're not going to cope with Hillary Clinton. So why would you, if you're running for Congress, for the House, or you're running for the Senate, why would you not want to have a Republican president where you could at least try to get something done? Why would you be for 4 more years of total frustration?
I had a friend of mine tell me the other day, he goes, we know Hillary's wrong 100% of the time, and he was supporting Ted Cruz. He goes, at least we have a good shot with Trump on a lot of significant issues. You know, this is open sabotage. As you look at the numbers, and we'll go over it in the course of the program, they're tightening this week. If Trump just consolidated his base, you can stop the most corrupt individual to ever run for office and appoint the most liberal justices from being president. Huh. And these stubborn, arrogant people, including senators and congressmen, won't do that.
Look, I'm going to go out on a limb tonight, and you can keep this tape and remind me about it after the election, okay? Donald Trump's going to win. Donald Trump's going to win because in the end, the country's not going to reward big banks and big unions and big bureaucracies and big donors and big corruption by voting for a big liar. And in the end, the country's going to say, you know, whatever Trump's weaknesses may be, he's a sincere guy trying very hard to get this country back on the right track. Now, if a bunch of Republicans are too stiff-necked, too proud, or in some cases too committed to the old order, after the election, I think they're going to be very sobered by their position, because the fact is I think he's going to win.
I hope and pray you're right, because I don't think we can survive 4 more years of these failed policies. Let me ask this. And I think I saw the best week Trump has had since his convention. Right. And this to me is the secret sauce. He only talked about Hillary and Obama. He talked about all their failures and how we're on the wrong track, which the country agrees with. And then he offered his solutions, which are dramatically better and I think would work, and stayed on message. And I think if he would do that the next 82 days, he would win. Does he need to forget all those other issues?
Look, there was an analyst who came out the other day who's had a long track record of projecting presidential campaigns based on the economy and other kind of factors. And he said if Trump stays about where he is now, he'll win at about 51 or 52%. If Trump actually gets his act together in a disciplined way, he could win by as much as 66%. Now, that is a staggering assertion by a political scientist. But if you look at just in the last couple of days, you had the LA Times 1-point race, Zogby 2-point race. Today you had Rasmussen 2-point race. The fact is, and it's very revealing, the pollsters who have telephoners are going to consistently get a lower vote for Trump because the media has attacked him so savagely and so dishonestly that a substantial number of people will not stay there for Trump. But when you do a computerized poll where people are comfortable, his vote goes up very dramatically. And I think people don't realize the effort by the elite media, the totally dishonest effort to submerge him, has had an effect. But the effect is not on a secret ballot. The effect is just, this is August. After August, I think we'll be in good shape.
Well, Mr. Speaker, thank you as always. We appreciate you being here. Thank you. And coming up next tonight on this busy news night right here on Hannity.
She is against the police, believe me. You know it and I know it, and guess what? She knows it.
Donald Trump slamming Hillary Clinton as being anti-cop, anti-police. Well, Mr. Trump got together with Rudy Giuliani, Governor Scott Walker, Sheriff David Clarke together when we were in Wisconsin. We haven't aired it yet. That's coming up next. Plus, the GOP nominee is making moves and adding new campaign people to his staff. Well, we'll talk with and discuss the issue with Trump's new campaign manager, our friend Kellyanne Conway. That and more tonight on Hannity.
She is against the police, believe me. You know it and I know it, and guess what? She knows it.
Donald Trump earlier this week exposing Hillary Clinton and the things that she has done and said against the police. Well, today the Democratic nominee finally met with law enforcement officials in New York City. Now, earlier this week, while I was in Wisconsin, I spoke with Donald Trump, Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clarke, Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, and former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani about the war on cops and the unrest in Milwaukee. Take a look. You have some good friends here. I want to ask you this because you watch what has happened here. You heard the audio tapes. Get the white people. Let's get them. And all of what's been unfolding here. But it's also happened in Baltimore. It's happened in Ferguson. We've had a president that has rushed to judgment on these issues and without any due process, presumption of innocence in Baltimore, Ferguson, Trayvon Martin, Cambridge police. Do you think that the president has, let's just say, contributed to an atmosphere that is hostile towards police officers?
Well, he's the great divider. He has not been good to the police, certainly. The police are not big fans of his. That's, you know, I meet him all the time. I'm with him all the time, and they are not big fans of his. But he is a great divider. He has divided this country into slices that nobody would have believed, and I think it's disgraceful.
You know, Mr. Mayor, I was a local and then nationally syndicated radio host while you were the mayor of New York City, and I watched the murder rate go from about 2,500 a year down to 500 because of tough policing that you insisted on. And Milwaukee remembers you being America's mayor on 9/11 and the days afterwards, and you gave us a steady hand. And you see what's going on. What are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are that this is an atmosphere that's been created over the last two years, to which the president contributed, Hillary Clinton contributed, lots of other, I call them racial arsonists, have contributed to. Hillary Clinton, I think one of her first announcements, she basically condemned the Baltimore police, only to have them all found not guilty.
Every one of them.
And she's not apologized for it. Now, generally in this country, we presume even the worst criminals innocent, but she presumes police officers to be guilty. And then when it turns out that they get a trial, and 3 of them were tried separately in front of a judge, and I shouldn't even have to emphasize this fact, but a judge who happened to be an African-American has to be a brave man.
By the way,
he found them not guilty, not guilty, which means she should now apologize to those police officers for having presumed their guilt.
And, you know, the president rushed to judgment, and he did this on foreign soil on Ferguson. And meanwhile, it was black eyewitnesses that testified that Michael Brown fought Darren Wilson for his gun and charged him.
We've read some of the testimony, you and I. We have read some of the testimony.
We did.
From those witnesses.
Sheriff, I know you love your city. I know you love the people of this city. 4 officers, people you know, were hurt, pelted with rocks and bottles, and I understand they damaged 4 police cars, but 4 guys were hurt. What is your reaction to what has happened?
Well, Sean, as you know, I'm from here, born and raised. I don't know anywhere else, and it was...
you might know Washington if Trump is elected. I'm just guessing.
Job 1 is getting Donald Trump elected President of the United States. The rest will take care of itself. But, you know, it was a good middle-class city. Okay, you had strong families, you had places to work, a lot of industry here, and people raised their kids, took care of their kids. And then, because of some very dangerous, damaging, progressive urban policies, the middle class moved out, the jobs left, and that vacuum was filled by what I'm not going to be as nice as some people might be, by the underclass, okay, a culturally dysfunctional underclass. Entrenched poverty, questionable lifestyle choices, massive unemployment. You have failing schools, failure to embrace education. Some of these are self-inflicted pathologies.
You know what one commonality seems to be? Baltimore, 50 years run by liberal Democrats. Milwaukee, how long has it been?
Oh, it's been we haven't had a Republican mayor
Detroit,
since 1908.
Some of
1908.
19 what?
The last time they had a Republican mayor. No, 19.
I vote for you for mayor. I think you know. But to what extent, when you hear the president rush to judgment in Cambridge, in Baltimore, in Ferguson, what does that say, what does that do to the morale of your officers?
Oh, it's horrible. It makes the police less assertive. Look, we understand this is a tough job. We understand that things can go horribly wrong in a hurry. Or we understand mistakes that can be made. All we don't ask for anybody's sympathy. We don't ask for a pat on the back. All we ask for is that when something goes horribly wrong through no fault of the officer, the community backs us. We want to know the political class. They have thrown us overboard. And it started with the President of the United States, who's a straight-up cop hater, and I can prove it. I don't have to go into it tonight. Just, you know, him ending the 1033 program is an example. The 1033 program allows local agencies to obtain military surplus equipment like body armor, like protective vests, ballistic helmets, shields, that sort of thing. I could have used that last Sunday. The president cut that program. Okay, why would you do that if you liked the police, right?
You know, let me bring in the governor. I want to first say, Governor Walker, I really appreciate, there were, 16, 17 of you on stage, and there was only one person that didn't make the pledge originally about supporting the nominee, but you kept your word, and there are other people. And I want to be very frank here. those that broke their word that want to be president in the future, I don't think we could ever trust them as far as we can throw them. And you do so. You told me last night in a conversation we had, you support Mr. Trump enthusiastically. And why? It's just, you talked about a lot of separate issues.
Well, it wasn't just because I'm a man of my word. That's how my parents raised me, and that in of itself is important. But the reason I made that pledge last August, and I said any of us on that stage would be far better than Hillary Clinton, is because I meant it. I didn't have my fingers crossed. I actually mean it. As you know, people say, well, you weren't with them initially. Of course I wasn't. I was with me. I supported myself, but and who wouldn't?
I think, we can make an allowance.
Right,
for that.
exactly.
All right.
Exactly. But my point was then, as it is today, and that's why I spoke at the convention, is to say when you look at the two people who are going to be on the ballot this November, and let's not kid ourselves, nobody else is on the ballot who has a chance of winning other than Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. When you look at the choice between the two, this is a woman who lied to the American people about her emails that put our national security at risk, a woman who lied to the families of the victims in Benghazi while standing by their coffins. She is unfit to be president. I don't think anybody should kid themselves. America wants a change. Hillary Clinton is not a change agent. And throughout Donald Trump's entire professional life, he has been an agent of change, and he'll be that as the next president.
There's two things that I've talked to you about in the past that you said you're considering. That the things that I've asked you about energy independence, about judges, about building the wall, about eliminating Obamacare, building our military, saving the VA, all of these things, you might put it on paper as a promise, right?
I may do that. We're looking at it. I discussed it with you before, and we may very well do that. It's not been done before that I know of.
Well, the contract with America, but not by a presidential candidate that I know of.
That was a little bit different, but we're thinking about doing that. If it can be done, we're going to do it.
One of the things, I think there's such a strong pool of really talented governors, senators, former mayors, sheriffs, and governors here.
That's true, right?
Are these three people that you would consider?
Oh, in a heartbeat, all three. I mean, these are top of the line. Top of the line.
I want to thank you all for being with us. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks so much. And coming up, the AP is reporting the Clinton Foundation will no longer accept corporate or foreign donations. Oh, but only if Hillary wins the White House. Donald Trump's brand new campaign manager, Kellyanne Conway, is here with reaction. And then later tonight, a new Clinton controversy. Hillary's running mate, Senator Tim Kaine, once said that Bill Clinton should have stepped down as president after his affair with Monica Lewinsky. Former Miss California Carrie Prejean and Dr. Gina Loudon, they're here to weigh in. And that and more tonight, right here on Hannity. And welcome back to Hannity. So after taking millions and millions of dollars from countries and regimes that treat women and children and religious minorities and gay people horribly, well, the AP has now reported tonight that the Clinton Foundation will no longer accept donations from foreign governments and corporations if Hillary Clinton wins the White House. Otherwise, she'll keep taking money from Saudi Arabia. Here now with reaction, Donald Trump's brand new campaign manager, our friend Kellyanne Conway. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
We've been friends a long time. I know how hard you've been working on the campaign. All right. Hillary Clinton claims a monopoly for gay and lesbian rights.
That's right.
She's the champion of women, glass ceiling, the whole bit. All right. So Saudi Arabia, UAE, Oman, Kuwait, all these countries that practice Sharia, women in Saudi Arabia can't drive. They're told by men how to dress. They have to get a man's permission to go to school or work. We know that they can't leave the house without a male relative. Gays and lesbians are executed in Saudi Arabia, can be executed. You can't build a temple and you can't build a Christian church. She takes up to $25 million for the foundation, $10 million for the library. Excuse me, and never criticizes them. How can you be the champion and take that money?
That was a fabulous recitation of Hillary Clinton's crooked, rigged, corrupt, hypocritical way of doing things. But I have one answer for you. Money. Follow the money with these people. They're low-class grifters and gifters at every turn, whether it's the money they make giving speeches, whether it's to pay for play at the State Department, whether it's what you just showed, which is they actually have the audacity to release a statement saying,
only if we win.
She's elected,
only
right?
if we win, it's wrong.
We'll actually do the right thing. What she doesn't realize is this is part of the reason, Sean, that 11% of Americans, according to the new NBC poll, say she's honest and trustworthy. 11%, think about that. 11% to me is very similar to Mitt Romney's 18% cares about people like me, to Obama's 81%. Why? Why is that relevant? Because if it's 11%, a plurality, if not a majority, of your own party's voters agree with that. So
let me ask you, where you come in, I think Donald Trump this week had his best week since the convention. Zogby and Rasmussen have a 2-point race.
Right.
It's 0.6 in the LA Times. Pew had him down 4, but a lot better than it was. What do you think is different? Because I have my own thoughts.
I see a few different things. One is that he really enjoys pivoting to policy. All these people giving him advice privately and publicly, you must pivot. They really are talking stylistically. The pivot should be substantive. If Hillary Clinton is going to talk about Donald Trump, we're going to talk about the issues. What do you think is going to help create jobs?
By the way, you're the new campaign manager, and wait a minute, you're a woman the last time I checked, and we've been friends for 20 years.
We have been a woman the whole time.
Yeah, the whole time. That's
well,
amazing.
I did want to make the point to you that you actually, because it's very sad the way women are treated in those countries where the Clintons have profited enormously.
She's never criticized these countries.
She doesn't criticize them, but I'd like to point out that's her view of women around the world. Donald Trump's view of women is he just promoted a woman to be his campaign manager. First, I'm told, first campaign manager for a Republican presidential candidate.
Isn't this just expanding out the campaign? I've been reading the media, and you've been working on the campaign, and I know Bannon has been, I guess, to a certain extent, you know, helping. And to me, Paul Manafort's still in his position, so why are they saying a shakeup? Is this a shakeup?
It makes for great headlines, I guess, in clickbait, but I've made very clear for the last 2 days, Sean, that this is an expansion at a very busy time. We have 12 weeks to go. And when it comes to personnel in the winding days of a campaign, more is more.
Exactly.
And there's so much to do. You know, we need to coordinate with our data operation, our field staff, our ground game, our comms, our digital.
Let me ask you this.
Working over there.
He gave 2 speeches.
Yes.
This is what I think is the secret sauce.
Yes.
He only talked about Hillary and Obama. He was on prompter. I like him on prompter myself, my own personal preference. But he stayed on a very powerful Donald Trump message. It was totally him. And he made very powerful points. But he outlined the failures and offered solutions.
There you go. You're going to see that in our new ads. We have our first 2 television ads going up. They'll be in rotation this weekend and next week, Sean, in 5 of the swing states. And you're going to see in those ads her vision and his vision on a couple different issues. That's really the way to play this. This is a very simple election if you boil it down.
I agree. Listen,
you know, it's change, it's choice, it's more the same.
Supreme Court, energy. Right. It's immigration, the wall. It's rebuilding the military or not. Education top down or goes back to the states. Protecting the Second Amendment. You can say radical Islam. You repeal Obamacare or not, right?
And what makes it so simple, Sean, is that they are so different on the issues. And so what you'll see from Mr. Trump, what you saw this week from him, is we're talking about fighting radical Islamic terrorism. He got very specific. He basically said, look, ISIS and its predecessors have murdered 33,000 people since 2003. But the birth and growth of ISIS happened on Obama and Clinton's watch, basically 2013. 80% of those 33,000 killed has happened in the last 3 years alone. And he gave us solutions. She wants to refer to them as our determined enemies. He refers to them as terrorists.
If I would argue he found the secret sauce, and he is still Trump being Trump.
He absolutely is. That's the point here. You have to be authentic. People know if you're not being yourself. Look at what happens every time Hillary Clinton tries to be something she's not.
That's hilarious. I know. I'm going to be
hilarious.
funny and happy.
But where's her pivot on substance? Let's have a serious conversation.
She talks about
Obamacare. She needs to own the $1 billion in losses in 30 states that lost their United Healthcare. Aetna this week, $430 million.
We got to run.
Obamacare, own it.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I've known you for a long time. Well deserved. And coming up, trouble brewing in the Clinton campaign. Hillary's running mate, Senator Tim Kaine, once said that Bill should have resigned from office after his affair with Monica Lewinsky. Carrie Prejean, Dr. Gina Loudon will be here with reaction, and the new blockbuster film, a remake of Ben-Hur, one of my favorite movies. I watched this movie. It's amazing. Out this weekend in theaters. We'll check in with Mark Burnett, Roma Downey. That's straight ahead. And welcome back to Hannity. So the Clinton campaign has a new scandal to worry about. Tonight, as the Daily Beast first reported, Hillary Clinton's running mate, Senator Tim Kaine, had some very harsh words about politicians who have sex scandals while in office, including Bill Clinton. Now, back in 2002, when Kaine was the lieutenant governor of Virginia, the Richmond Times-Dispatch reported on his comments about a sex harassment scandal in the Virginia House of Delegates, in which Kaine compared Clinton's White House affair with Monica Lewinsky. He said, quote, if the allegations are true, he should definitely resign, Kaine said, adding that he held the same view about President Clinton during the Monica Lewinsky sex scandal. Now, the AP quoted Kaine as saying something similar when talking about the same Virginia scandal. When I read this morning, my reaction was the same I had when I read about the Clinton-Lewinsky affair. This is not appropriate conduct. It's beneath the dignity of the office. Now, Kaine is, of course, now trying to spin his comments by saying, oh, it's a past controversy. He wants to focus on the future. Here with reaction, psychologist, expert, radio, TV host Dr. Gina Loudon, and Miss California USA 2009, Carrie Prejean Bowler is with us. Good to see you. All right, you guys are like best friends, right?
Besties.
Oh, my God. Said it at the same time. All right, that's great. You know, when you examine, does it matter? I mean, you've got all these women like Kathleen Willey, Paula Jones, Juanita Broderick, and Dolly Kyle. They're talking about assault.
Yeah.
And you got Jennifer Flowers, Monica Lewinsky, consensual. Does it make a difference? What do you think, Dr. Loudon?
Of course it makes a difference. I mean, when you're talking about assault, that's a completely different thing. And the thing that makes me just enjoy this story probably more than I should is the fact that
You enjoy sex scandal stories. Okay, is that what you're saying?
I enjoy when hypocrisy is exposed, and I enjoy when the establishment is exposed for exactly what it is, which is the status quo. This is another example of where the voters have a very clear choice between someone who enters into scandals, doesn't care who's hurt, covers it up, lies about it, and then proceeds to act like it didn't happen, and we're just going to focus on other things. Well, they're not focusing on the other things where Mr. Trump is concerned. They're happy to focus on his past. So how about if we point out the fact that Hillary still has never defended these women?
You know, well, I think actually she was part of the effort to smear, slander,
Exactly.
besmirch. And then here comes the New York Times, and they tried to take you out of context about Donald Trump, and then you said, no, that never happened, and sorry, but I like Donald Trump.
Right. You know, Sean, I'm a mom of two. I have two little kids. I'm married. It's been 7 years since I've been in the spotlight, and I thank you for having me on. Yeah. And when the New York Times came out with that article, you know, part of me didn't want to say anything because I know how the media is, and I know that they like to attack me.
Right.
And a part of me was like, you know what, Carrie, you're known for standing up for the truth. And so I had to speak up. I had to. And so I called you up and I said, Sean, you know what? I have to clarify. I have to clarify this. And the New York Times, the failing New York Times, like I agree with Trump on that one, they said that they spoke to me and they said that they, you know, I gave them an exclusive interview about Trump. That is a bunch of baloney. That was a bunch of lies.
It's hard to be lied about, right? I mean,
yeah, to put words in my mouth. I mean, to take something, you know, from my book and totally spin it and make it seem like I have this terrible taste in my mouth for Donald Trump. I mean, I had to come forward and speak my mind.
Yeah.
I love Donald Trump.
Does that happen to you, too?
Of course, all the time. I've lost friendships over this. I've had business deals that went wrong because I was on television stating the truth as I see it. And then people, of course, will turn around, twist your words, lie about it. I've had interviews where people have edited what I said and tried to make a story out of it. See, these kinds of things happen. But you know what? No one, I would really submit to you, maybe short of Sarah Palin, no one has withstood the sort of scrutiny that Mr. Trump and his family have unjustly endured.
It really
the
is
things
amazing.
they're doing to him, the statues that they're putting around of him naked. If that were done with Hillary Clinton, Sean, or Barack Obama, can you imagine the outrage? We'd all be...
You guys need to do a show together. All right. Thank you both for being with us.
Thanks
Appreciate
for having us.
That, a scene from the new Hollywood blockbuster Ben-Hur, now in theaters this weekend. You don't want to miss this film. Joining me now, the film's executive producers, friends of mine, Mark Burnett, Roma Downey. All right, you two are like my favorite producers, and I'm not sucking up, and here's why. I watched this movie twice at a screening. I had my own personal screening because I wanted to see it again immediately. And, you know, we all complain that the movies are garbage and sex and violence, and you make great movies that are entertaining and have a powerful message. Tell us how this came into being.
Oh, yeah. You know, we're committed, our company, Lightworkers Media, to create content that illuminates the darkness. And Ben-Hur is a film that does that. It's a great, big, entertaining, exciting, action, dramatic movie. But woven through it is a story of faith, of redemption, of forgiveness. And we feel in this time in the world as it is, this message is needed now more than ever.
And that's what motivates you in all of this. And I mean, Mark, you're one of the most successful TV movie creators in the country, but this is your passion.
Oh, I love this. You know, we have a duty to try and spread the light, but try to do it in an entertaining way. And you know about that, Sean. You've got to entertain an audience while getting a message across. You know, and this is a big summer blockbuster, a big blockbuster with a message of Jesus.
All right, so when you started this project, you swore me to secrecy because I just happened to, in passing, mention that Charlton Heston, the original Ben-Hur, was one of my favorite movies, and then you pulled me aside and said, well, just so you know.
I know. We were making it.
Right.
And I
was like, wow.
I said to you, why don't you come to Italy while we're shooting it and we'll put you in as an extra or something.
I wanted to be, but, you know, I have this little thing called the election. You know what was so refreshing, though, watching it, is that it was like, for me, it was like finally a break from all the political nonsense going on. But there are scenes here that are so powerful. You know, you've got two brothers. The difference between the original and this one, which is a total compliment to you, I understood the story 10 times better. I felt this was better for me. You really made it relatable and understandable.
Well, we think that there's like two generations. There's people who remember the 1959 film, the Ben-Hur generation, and then there's people like, you know, anybody under 35.
Like you, okay.
Oh yeah, right. Who we call the Ben-Who generation. You know, they haven't seen the movie. They certainly haven't seen the movie on the big screen, and that's where this movie belongs.
Did I read this is in 3D too?
Yes, yes.
Wow.
IMAX 3D. What an experience. You know, think about this. Faith movies tend to be smaller movies like we've done in the past.
Right.
This is a big studio movie, but with Jesus on the screen and a story of forgiveness.
But this is the thing. It's the parallel lives of Judah Ben-Hur and Marcellus's brother, who's a Roman, and Judah is Jewish, but they raise brothers, and the schism that takes place, culminating or crescendoing in this chariot race, which is amazing. Him being a slave on a ship and his escape. I mean, there's everything you'd want in terms of a movie, but also the parallel experience with Judah Ben-Hur and Jesus Christ, which is a big part of this movie.
Oh, it's extraordinary. And Jack Huston and Toby Kebbell are amazing as the brothers. The great Morgan Freeman, of course,
he was
in the film. And Rodrigo Santoro does a beautiful turn as Jesus in this movie. There's a scene at the foot of the cross where Judah finally, you know, understands that the only way forward is to forgive, because he hears Jesus saying, Father, forgive them, they know not what they do. And it's a beautiful moment of redemption and salvation, and we're just so hopeful that this film will touch people's hearts.
It is entertaining, it is enlightening, it is riveting, it is everything that I want when I go to the movie. So, you know, another blockbuster, I'm sure, opens in theaters everywhere, all across the country this weekend. Roma, Mark, I love seeing you guys. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you so much, Sean.
And coming up, we need your help. A very important question of the day is straight ahead as we continue tonight on Hannity. All right, time for our question of the day. So, should the media be giving Tim Kaine's past comments about Bill Clinton a little bit more attention? I think so. Go to Facebook.com/Sean Hannity, @Sean Hannity on Twitter. Let us know what you think. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have left tonight. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you back here on Monday.